Hello everybody, this is going to be another one of those informal chat videos that I'm rather enjoying. In case you're worried, these are not replacing car content in any way, shape or form. You should see them simply as bonus videos. They're helping me keep the content regular in the winter period, and in the summer hopefully they're just going to give you a little bit more of the car stuff that we all know and love. Change of scenery today, I am filming in my kitchen. I put out a video only yesterday at the time of filming about TVR, and as it happens, the news gods have already dropped me a lovely topic, a nice meaty one for today. As you can probably tell from the title, we're going to be talking about the new Porsche, or Porsche. A lot of people talk to me about why I pronounce it that way. I did do a video talking about it that very few people watched, but I enjoyed, so if you want to see that, go up here. In short, Porsche is basically how most people in the UK say it. Very few people here say Porsche. I know Porsche is how it's correctly pronounced, but people here think you're a little bit weird if you say that. My default response, if I'm in real dick mode, when people say to me, "Oh, it's not Porsche, it's Porsche," I'll say, "Wenn die Amis Jaguar richtig sagen, dann sage ich Porsche richtig." A little bit of an in-joke for the German speakers out there. Anyway, Porsche surprised literally nobody this week when they released the news that the new GTS in the Cayman and Boxster is going to be powered by a slightly detuned version of the 4-litre engine they've just developed for the new GT4 and Spider. This is exciting, this is interesting. It is also an admission, if ever you're going to get one, that the 4-cylinder 718 wasn't really the wunderkind that I think Porsche were hoping it was going to be. Yeah, it sold well to begin with, but it didn't take very long, in the UK at least, before you could actually pick up a 718 for less money than a 981. Ultimately, buyers here voted with their feet, and most people buying a Porsche just weren't prepared to pay that amount of money for a 4-cylinder car. I've driven the 718, I've driven a few of them, and I actually really quite like them. No, the engine isn't anywhere near as sonorous as the 981s, but it is a lot more effective, and the car itself is still fundamentally very good if you're into a relatively practical, sporty-looking car. However, what is the new GTS going to do for the market? Well, I think it's going to be quite disruptive, basically. There are two people I think that are going to suffer the most from this. The ones that are no doubt going to suffer the hardest and the soonest are the people that own the previous 2.5-litre 718 GTS. That's a car that's about to become rather undesirable, and you're going to have a load of people wanting to go into the new GTS, and simultaneously loads of people wanted to get out of the old one as they all panic and try and just get the hell out of Dodge. So they're going to suffer. And if you've got a 718 GTS, I'd say be prepared either to hold onto it for the remainder of your term if you've got it on finance, or keep the car forever if you just own it, or sell up. Those are kind of your three choices. The other people who are going to suffer are those who bought the 718 Cayman GT4 and Boxster Spider in the hopes of making nice money out of them. There's nothing wrong with those cars, I'm sure. I haven't driven either of them. If someone out there's watching has got one and would like to see me review it, I'd love to do so. And in fact, I'd love to review the old Boxster Spider as well. But that's by the by. Yeah, people are asking overs for the new 718 GT4. And to be honest, I just don't think that was going to work in the first place. The original Cayman GT4 worked so well because it came out at exactly the right point in time when Porsche prices were starting to go up and up and up and up anyway. And the Cayman GT4 is the car that Porsche always said they would never do. And then they did it, it came out, everybody loved it, there weren't very many of them, it created a perfect storm, prices went bonkers. But the prices then stopped, and the prices have been sliding down ever since. So there are a lot of people out there that probably lost an awful lot of money on a Cayman GT4. If you bought one, especially at say 100 grand, and you've used it, you probably waved goodbye to the best part of 20 to 30,000 pounds. Still brilliant cars, but the market very quickly decided that it was not going to pay 125,000 pounds for a Cayman. Good as it might be, that starts getting you into 911 GT3 territory, and the 911 is always going to overshadow little brother. Regardless of which car you actually prefer, the 911 is pretty much always going to be the one that the people want and are willing to pay a little bit more for. That's just how it is. So the 718 GT4, although it's no doubt a great car, it's not really the revelation that the original was. It's just more of the same. It's lovely, it's good, it's nice, but it's just not that sort of redefining car. In the same way, different marketplace, I know, that nobody really was that excited about the Chiron in the same way that they were about the Veyron. The Veyron was an amazing, brilliant thing that came out of absolutely nowhere. And for people of my age in particular, it's an amazing car. I think Jeremy Clarkson once called it our Concorde moment, and I can totally agree with him on that. But the Chiron's just the same car made better. It's, I'm sure, a much, much better thing, but then for the mortal people like myself, it's kind of irrelevant. Cayman GT4, obviously a much more relevant car, because it's the sort of car that one day I could afford to own, and theoretically, were they selling for list price, I actually could have afforded to have bought one a few years ago, but I didn't because you couldn't get one at list price. So the new 4 litre, what's going to happen? Well, in the short term, I don't think too much is going to happen, because there is no doubt going to be huge demand for these things. Porsche dealers are probably going to play the same silly bollocks that they've been playing for the last few years, and the dealer principals are going to go all power crazy in deciding who gets the allocations of these cars. They're not going to be limited cars, but of course, production itself is going to be reasonably limited. You'll probably find in a few years that there are more 4 litre GTS than there are regular Boxsters on sale, because a similar thing happened with the GT3 marketplace. And the GTS obviously is not a limited production car or limited edition. Those are the words I was looking for. So for the next year or so, I'd say prices aren't going to change too dramatically. But the issue with the GTS is it's going to be massively oversubscribed, because you've got 718 owners are going to probably want to get into it, especially if you are, say, an owner of the aforementioned 2.5 litre GTS, or maybe even an S. You've also got those people that wanted to buy a Cayman GT4 or Boxster Spider and couldn't get into it. This is the next best thing. And you've also got the people that have been holding on to their 981s for ages, because for them it was 6 cylinders or death, and now there is an option. And at the moment, their cars are still worth a fair amount of money. So they can essentially leap a generation of car. They can completely miss out the 718 and go with the first generation 718 and go into the GTS at probably a relatively small premium. What this is going to mean, if you're looking for a 981, is good news, because you're going to start to see the prices of those softening, because so many people are probably going to be getting out of them. I have absolutely no doubts whatsoever that the first year or so we're probably going to see GTS 4 litres sold at something of a premium. The issue there is that people are trying to do the same thing with the GT4 and the Spider, and the GTS is not better than a GT4 or a Spider. So nobody can ask more money for a GTS 4 litre than they can a GT4 or Spider. So any sort of overs that are going to be requested have to be less than that, and that's going to cap the car's potential. Hopefully that'll mean a lot of speculators don't buy into them. If you're going to buy a GTS 4 litre, I wouldn't expect to get any discount out of one, but also I would not pay anything, not a penny over list price to get one, because eventually they will go back down. And what this more than likely means is that because Porsche have spent all this time and money developing this engine, you're probably going to see a 6-cylinder in the next generation of Boxster and Cayman as well. The 4-cylinder I don't think is going anywhere, because Porsche again spent a lot of money and time developing that, and there are customers for whom it certainly appeals. Definitely the base Boxster I can see keeping it, because it just makes an awful lot of sense. And there are plenty of territories around the world where a smaller, more environmentally friendly engine definitely works. The Chinese marketplace in particular, I think, has been a real big seller for Porsche with the regular 718, and I think they're not going to change that formula. So you're probably going to see two dramatically different engines. The really exciting question, and one which I have absolutely no idea on, is will this engine make it into the 911? You have a problem there, because the 911 has been producing much better power figures for some time, but people do like a naturally aspirated engine. So whether Porsche would want to put one back in the 911 or not, I don't know. To me, I think actually this would have been the engine to use in the Carrera T and make it really the purist's car. You know, your 400 horsepower, naturally aspirated, 4 litre engine. I think it would sell like hotcakes. I think it really would, and they could probably ask, again, a decent premium because it's the 911, not the Boxster. It'd make the car lighter as well because you're losing the turbos. That'd probably be an awesome piece of kit, and I really wish that Porsche would do that and build that car, and maybe they will, because one thing's for certain, the only reason they're doing this one is because the last one didn't sell. I mean, they might say that it's because they need to amortize the cost of developing the engine and all that jazz, but I'm not sure that's entirely true, because the GT3 engine from the 911s of old never really made it into sort of, regular cooking cars. I think this is basically Porsche going, oh, we've lost a lot of customers, haven't we, with the 4-cylinder Boxster and Cayman. Let's try and get them back. And get them back they shall. So that's my rough take on things. To summarise, if you've got a 718 GTS, brace yourselves. If you've got a GT4, I hope you enjoy it and love it. And I'm sure most people that have one do, but don't expect it to be worth as much as it is in a year's time. And if you're looking for a GTS, go buy one, order one, be prepared to wait. Don't pay overs, because once everyone's got one, they'll drop back down. And one thing with Porsche is that they are in some ways quite predictable, but in other ways very unpredictable. I mean, everyone went nuts when they got rid of the manual gearbox in the GT3, only for it to come right back. So I would not see the 4-litre GTS as a one-off either, so don't get too excited. But for now, whatever it is that you drive, enjoy it, and see you for the next one. Bye-bye.